It's actually wonderful to be here in the city of Kauai. I'd like to thank the ETCISO for giving me an opportunity to come here. Now, firstly, about this city, Kauai. It's actually very close to our heart. In the armed forces, we have an institution where our young leaders get their operational training in their years, say 10 to 15 years of service. We have the Defense Services Staff College, which is located about 2 hours drive from here. That's at Kunur. So I came here as a young officer, doing staff college, so transited through Kauai and then had a subsequent posting in that institution where I had a connect with this particular place. I also had, my son who had a small little challenge, medical challenge. He was treated here in one of the local hospitals. So I have a lot of memories associated with this place and wonderful to be back here. There's also another reason why I'm here. Normally we get to interact with CISOs in cosmopolitan cities like Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, etc. and Hyderabad. It's probably the first time that we have actually attempted to reach down right till down south here in Coimbatore. And I am sure that many of the CISOs here would be hearing me for the first time. Though yesterday while I was traveling from Delhi, I found a bunch of youngsters whom I normally interact with. And it was wonderful hearing most of the discussions were oriented around technology and on cybersecurity. The flight was full of experts who are coming here. So wonderful to be here. And I look forward to a good interaction with each one of you here. I'm sure the Neha has actually put together the ecosystem. So it's a major challenge that our country is facing today. Now, why is this challenge so difficult? It's enormous, considering the ever-increasing footprint of our digital infrastructure. I'm sure all of you are aware of our vast digital infrastructure. It's one of the largest in the world, one of which the government has put in a lot of efforts to realize the digital dreams to connect our citizens. I'll furnish a few little statistics. The TRAI statistics on total number of telephone subscribers in India as of December 24 is about 1.189 billion, out of which 1.15 are wireless subscribers and rest, that's about 39.28, are wireline subscribers. We have 945 million broadband subscribers, and we now nearly have 60 million M2M connections in our landscape. Now, through these connections or through these devices, Indians carried out 611.04 million transactions on March 10th. I'm just quoting one particular day when the UPI transactions touched 611 million. And on an average, they actually now touch about 600 million. And the value of these transactions is approximately 90,000 crores per day, which actually translates onto approximately 10 billion US dollars. I think this is the amazing digital transformation which our country has actually gone through. The digital economy contributed to 11.74% of our GDP in 2022-23, and it's expected to reach 20% by 29-30. Over 95% of our banking payment transactions now are digital. We now have more than 136 crore Aadhaar cards as of March 23. And we have 2.14 lakh panchayats connected with internet through BharatNet with 6.92 kilometers of optical fiber laid. And this is the ecosystem which we have in our country. So Neha mentioned that we are one of the third largest, the cyber threat landscape, we have one of the third largest in the world. And number of threat actors, we have about so many today because of our large public infrastructure. All this have literally transformed the way we function, carry out our day-to-day activities, no doubt, expedited by the COVID pandemic. But these all have come about with a cost of having an impact on our entire ecosystem, inducing vulnerabilities. The vulnerabilities rise exponentially owing to the fact that we have a large population today using the tools of digital excellence, ranging from smartphones to gadgets which touch upon every aspect of our lives, at home, while traveling, at work, and even while doing physical exercises and in swimming pools. I don't have to describe the ecosystem to each one of you here. And it covers the entire cross-section of our society, from children to the elderly, from farmers to business houses. No aspect of human life today is out of reach of the digital domain, and the terrestrial connectivity is a limitation in some of our remote areas. Today, we have space-based systems, platforms providing its support, and many are in the offing very soon. For us as citizens of this great nation, it brings in everything we aspire to see, hear, or possess. And for the industry and commercial organizations, it brings in efficiency and commercial gains. Digital landscape is changing dramatically at an unprecedented pace. What we dream today in our digital space becomes a reality tomorrow. And with every advancement comes with a new handicap, new vulnerability, which is exploited by the threat actors. It could be a state or a non-state actor. I keep mentioning this on comprehensive national power, which actually a sum total of all organizations which work, which makes a nation tick. It can be multiple domains, like it could be energy, security, health, wellness of our citizens, science and technology, etc. They are so varied in nature and impacting on our life of our citizens. They are all interconnected by the cyberspace through the networks ranging from terrestrial to radiating to space-based, the large device ecosystem, the applications developed using the networks, the devices which we have, all of it actually connects us to the users. The data, the storage, the cloud, they're also part of the networks. Now, these also, there are also air-gap networks. Like, I used to manage one of the largest air-gap networks in the armed forces. We have very secure networks in the army. So I used to head this, and it had reach, so much of reach that, it used to actually touch the corners of our country, all across. And it was a major challenge protecting it from the cybersecurity vulnerabilities. Though it was air-gapped, physically air-gapped, there are challenges in that ecosystem about which I'll touch upon a little later. So this is one of the primary reasons why we keep mentioning it, that today cybersecurity has become an integral part of our national security. So you just can't think about a nation's security without considering the fact that we need to protect our cyberspace. So we as our citizens of our country, do we pay adequate attention to this important facet of national security, which impacts on each one of us here? Now, as a routine, I see many of the representatives from the governmental sectors too, and so many of you from the commercial organizations. One doesn't feel, cybersecurity is one of this significant, it plays a significant role. But understand that, any small little violation which takes place in any of these, the devices, the apps, the cloud, it can have an impact which not only touches upon your own entity, but it has an impact on our nation as a whole. Some constraints which all of you face, which I keep hearing about, lack of financial resources. I think Neha mentioned about, legacy systems being part of this. So these are the challenges which we need to overcome. And these are the reasons why, not only us, every country today faces these challenges. And that's one of the reasons why, I claim that, that there's nothing called perfect cybersecurity. But we need to keep at it and make sure that that small little vulnerability is looked into proactively, and then it is plugged. One of the aspects which comes to our mind is cybercrime. I think they have mentioned this. Now, this is a major vulnerability, and when we talk about cybersecurity, it's perhaps the single most important aspect which can impact on each one of us as citizens. But you all here, as part of the government, industry, should consider is the threats that emanate, that interfere with your respective sectors of employment, from manufacturing to services, from large corporates to small startups. Each of these entities can be impacted, sometimes very severely. You just cannot function. It could cripple your machines, it could make some of your machines run faster, or it can make it slower. It can take out valuable intellectual property rights. Now, some of the R&D efforts which your teams are working on, they all get compromised. It can impact on your users or simply deny services. I'm sure you're all aware of the blue screens incident which we had in last July, when half the globe came across major challenges where our airline systems, or in fact, a lot of computer systems all over the globe got impacted by a small little third-party app challenge, which had a global impact. Our ecosystem, which is complex, with multiple systems involved in delivering the desired capabilities, it's difficult to protect each entity or layer. But Can you have visibility to all the systems so that they are monitored from a cybersecurity perspective continuously? Can you have risk mapping and assessment carried out so that you know what is the threshold of acceptance of risks from cyber incidents? Are you following the mandated cyber audit processes and procedures rigorously, or is it only for compliance that you're following these frameworks? Effectively dealing with cyber incidents will imply adherence to processes and procedures, policies, and basic cyber frameworks, besides a cybersecurity-aware workforce and a few cyber-skilled professionals in your respective organizations. It's time to have large industries and even smaller ones having cybersecurity professionals in their boards of administration, in the boards of management. Also have cybersecurity as a section in annual reports. All commercial organizations, even government, has an annual report which is prepared. Why can't we have cybersecurity incorporated in this and say, number of audits carried out, number of vulnerabilities detected, so that slowly the cybersecurity comes into limelight and it's actually considered as a factor which can determine the future of your organization. From a policy perspective, the lack of clarity on responsibilities of various ministries, cybersecurity domain has been addressed to a large extent, with cybersecurity now being included in the allocation of business rules of the Government of India. In fact, there are clear-cut responsibilities now given to various ministries. Coordination and strategic direction in this key domain of national security rests with the NSCS, that's my organization, and I'm sure that this would lead to better coordination and management of key objectives envisaged in this domain of cybersecurity. However, a major objective of availability of skilled professionals to work on this specialized domain is a major challenge we look to solve on priority with the support of all major stakeholders in this domain. That's the government, the industry, and the academia. This has, in fact, to be stepped up to be a national endeavor. Opportunities galore, actually, for skilled professionals in this domain. The internship initiative, which I'm sure the government of you're all aware of probably, and this is one of the opportunities where you, in part of industry, can have internships on cybersecurity as part of your ecosystem. Have interns taken in on this particular domain, and that will probably pave way for more of workforce with practical experience on your respective sectors. This is one of the opportunities for each one of you to consider. Now, I think they have mentioned about conflict situations and geopolitics. Right? As conflict situations emerge in many parts of the world today, we as a nation are constantly engaged in battles to safeguard our sovereignty, security, and privacy from intrusive and anonymous threats, both in physical domains as also in virtual domains. India ranks amongst the top three cyber-targeted nations, as she had brought out, and this is one of the results of our vibrant digital public infrastructure. The predominant forms of cyber attacks include data breaches, identity thefts, financial thefts, and so on. Targeted cyber attacks on national resources and critical infrastructure have become more vigorous, with these attacks having potential to jeopardize our national security as also our social well-being. Neha mentioned a few of these statistics on some of these incidents. We also need to consider threats like ransomware and supply chain infections, which have made the challenge more complex. Now, ransomware attacks have emerged as a major cybersecurity threat, especially against critical infrastructures. And each of these can have major impact on utility services to our citizens, besides impinging on public safety as also security. Many measures have been taken, multiple levels, to maintain integrity of your supply chains, focused on our networks. But a lot more needs to be done. Our approach towards achieving self-reliance in ICT sector, supported by a strong regulatory and legal framework, can probably be the best way ahead. Incident detection in a proactive manner and mitigation, post-event management of restoration, attribution, and response mechanisms are all facets of cyber landscape management we are closely looking at. Improving security controls to ensure a resilient cyber ecosystem, synergy, collaboration, and coordination is probably the best way ahead in this particular scenario. Issues related to supply chain vulnerabilities are also being addressed, as I had mentioned. We have a National Security Directive on telecom services, where we make sure that our telecom networks, which forms the backbone of the connectivity all across India, we have an organization which actually looks at only having trusted products from trusted sources as part of this particular ecosystem. So this endeavor started in 2021, and actually it's achieved considerable successes, making sure that a large part of our networks today have only trusted products from trusted sources. Device ecosystem, we have to ensure that they are also free from vulnerabilities, as also the app ecosystem, which rides on our networks. Many of the threats are within the capability of network providers to tackle today, provided they monitor the network regularly for vulnerabilities and enhance research and development in cybersecurity domain. Large number of projects to protect our cyberspace has been carried out by various ministries, including my own organization at the NSCS, and they're all available to you, to users. We are also ever willing to take on additional R&D efforts, and if you have any suggestions, you are free to interact with me, and we'll take on any of these R&D projects which can actually lead to better cybersecurity landscape in the country. There are a large number of deliberations on emerging technology domains, on domains of AI and quantum. Both of them have deep impact on cybersecurity domain, on strengthening the ecosystem, as also finding loopholes which can be exploited by bad actors, anti-national elements. While artificial intelligence and Gen AI features have enhanced the bandwidth and windows of opportunities for cyber criminals, it's also features which will assist in identifying vulnerabilities and trends proactively, besides analyzing ecosystems. Now, quantum is a domain we are looking at very critically, with threat that can impact on our cyber landscape being identified, evaluated, and solutions being looked at, even through international cooperation. Considerable work is also happening in the field in our country in this particular domain of evaluating the quantum threats. We also have created an info repository of all developments through a common platform called ETCISO. I'm not sure, some of you may not be familiar with this particular platform called the ETCISO, which is a DSCI-steered initiative supported by my organization. In fact, many critical areas in which research is being carried out in our research institutions, startups, organizations having products indigenously developed to support our initiatives in across the board in technology domain, especially in critical areas, are all part of this particular ETCISO portal. You may like to Google and then become part of this particular effort. It's an ongoing initiative. We also look towards telecom service providers, ISPs, to be actively contributing towards efforts in making our cyberspace a little more secure. They all need to be part of the critical infrastructure and needs to initiate actions for enhancing their cybersecurity standards. We also recently launched a national cyber reference framework outlining the basic cybersecurity postures for organizations, which is available in the NCIPC portal. So this is an initiative which the NCIPC and the NSCS have taken up together. It's a portal. Actually, you can have a look at it. It's called the National Cyber Reference Framework, and it's been launched and it's available online. We also attempted to standardize certifications through NCIPC QCI initiative. Now, both are on public domain today. Coming back to cyber threats, the nature of cyber attacks have seen rapid transformation in recent years, probably crafted through the increasing ingenuity of human minds, as also results of multiple AI tools available in the ecosystem. These well-crafted and often well-engineered attacks can bypass most of the detection tools and techniques that are generally employed in an ecosystem. They get into systems through social engineering to steal credentials, using compromised infrastructure, or exploiting unfixed vulnerabilities. The threat actors today are well aware of your operational and deployment scenarios. In fact, they do extensive research actually before they engage with you. And actually they carry out a lot of recce before getting into the networks or into your systems. The cybersecurity professionals of today need to be much more nimble-footed, since the time between the initial compromise and data exfiltration is reducing. And therefore, cyber professionals like all of you here, CISOs, have to be proactive and much faster in response. Data exfiltration methodologies are also changing slowly, with data even moving to well-known hosting platforms. So these are recent trends which we are noticing. Alertness, patterns, variations, anything amiss should alert a defender. It may be a false positive or a series of false positives, but this is a trend and a challenge cybersecurity professionals will always have to face. You may have full visibility to the architecture. You need to have it. Also, the applications, storage mechanisms, and even complete visibility of your assets, including behavioral pattern of your customers. The VPNs today pose a major challenge, and I think you need to treat each of them with a lot of complex, and they're all complex systems which are there, and you need to have whitelisting for those VPNs which actually you need to use. CISOs must strengthen the monitoring mechanisms through series of procedural controls, making sure that each audit is followed through an action taken, and if not flagged at the highest level. As I mentioned, no, it should form part of annual reports of ministries and organizations. Asset visibility, including edge devices, data storage facilities, apps, interfaces, strict access control mechanisms, centralized management, periodic reviews, user awareness, and periodic updation of skilling of your cyber professionals are keys to ensuring a basic cybersecurity framework. Risk assessment aspects must also be shared with your management so that the overall posture of your organization is well known to them. An aspect I need to highlight today is our dependence on threat intelligence service providers. There are a lot of platforms, a lot of organizations which provide you with threat intelligence. They need to be oriented to an Indian ecosystem. Large number of private players in this business base their inputs largely from data from external infrastructures. This needs to be modified, and you also must insist on it. It's also true for large conglomerates who guide you in your cybersecurity ecosystem. Most of their learnings come from external ecosystems, not similar to the Indian ecosystem. We have a digital public infrastructure which is unique, little different from what you have in some of the Western countries. You need to verify this aspect while you prepare for your projects and prepare your RFPs, etc. Network segmentation, zero trust principles in architectures, IT/OT segmentation, etc. are some of the successful methods that can protect your businesses. The networks, the cloud security, the app interface security, etc. It may not be under your control, but you could definitely examine these during the initial contract phases. There might be outsourced, but you need to look at all this very critically when you sign your contracts. As also have periodic reviews based on criticality and dependence of your services. Weak implementation of policies, guidelines, reference frameworks enhance the opportunities for manipulation of our digital domain by our adversaries, be it state or non-state actors. This is again where public-private partnership need to be actively pursued to ensure speedy execution of policies and regulations. I also have mentioned a little earlier that we have distinctly seen a leaning towards larger entities, mostly from outside, being involved in our project implementation. I'm sure it's the time that we consider homegrown solutions to meet our challenges in cybersecurity domain. And we have an ecosystem for it with most talented, brilliant youngsters with tremendous skills in this domain within our country. They need to be provided with opportunities, and that's where I look towards each one of you here, CISOs, for considering Indian startups and talent for solving your challenges. They may not be perfect, but with your guidance and support, and I think actually they can become global leaders of the future. Key to our digital revolution, the participants of which all of us here, is to safeguard the data, which is the primary enabler for any transformative process. Effectiveness and strength of cybersecurity practices followed by each one of you, your teams will ensure safety of personal and organization on data, the loss of which can impact on our citizens and organizations for that matter. The threats, the cyber domain is constantly evolving, hence the need to have to be on the guard always, with constant engagement with all stakeholders, the government, industry, academia, and of course, the citizens. Increased investment in strengthening cybersecurity and building skilled resources for combating the threats is also an immediate priority. I mentioned about non-availability of skilled professionals. Now, this is one challenge which we have been facing, and I'm sure all of you are also aware of this. Some of the steps which we have actually started is building cyber awareness right from school levels. So like AI and quantum are probably forming part of syllabuses today at school levels. We're also looking at introducing cybersecurity there. We already written to the NCRT, to the CBSE, and I'm sure to the state boards, and I'm sure these endeavors, at least the message of cyber message of being following proper cyber hygiene would actually start from the school children. We are also looking at professionals coming out from graduation, post-graduation. And some of our IITs today have looked at recruiting, or maybe, today admission to an IIT is through a joint entrance examination. Now, can you actually have cyber professionals coming to an institution like an IIT through this particular course? So there is an IIT which started the endeavor to have a program, a graduation program, where the admission is through a hackathon which is going to be conducted. And this particular course, which gives you a degree on cybersecurity, starts with a hackathon, and it's going to start from the next academic session. So I'm sure such steps will have, at least, we'll have more availability of professionals. And I also look towards, having a cybersecurity university at some point of time. And it's time we should have a dedicated cybersecurity university. And some of you who are, into respective sectors, please have, the students who are doing post-graduation. Maybe you could take them under your guidance and then have your sectors, respective sectors, let them do research on, or, have their particular projects on the respective sectors of yours. So these are some of the things which we can actually do. We also need to sensitize our citizens, especially the senior citizens, on the challenges in cyberspace, so they are aware of the implications and vulnerabilities. Certifications, standards, etc. are also a challenge the cyber professionals are dealing with, considering the fact that the ecosystem is large. And we cannot actually be confined by sovereign boundaries in this. So therefore, there's need to have universal standards and certification models, as also laws which are globally acceptable to tackle the misuse of digital space. It's in a large and federal country like ours, where cybersecurity laws need to be applicable universally to tackle misuse or unlawful activities. So these are some of the steps which we are working on. I think it's time that, while we are planning our journey ahead, nation in the Amrit Kal, it's essential that we consider cybersecurity as an important factor which can have a severe impact on our sovereignty. So, as CISOs, some of the important aspects which related to your sector, I just wanted to showcase. Firstly, you need to have complete visibility of your cyber ecosystem, which could include every device forming part of your ecosystem, the details of the networks in which the devices are riding on, the applications you have created in-house or for customer management, as also, where does this data actually, where is this data hosted, and some of the encryption algorithms which you are using, the validity of the encryption algorithms, etc. Now, these are the information which a CISO should actually have, and you must insist on it. Secondly, you must have robust procedures. Now, we call it in the Army as an SOP, Standing Operating Procedure, for in-house users, your clients, as also for your cybersecurity professionals, with clear-cut do's and don'ts. These are some of the things which you should have. Now, periodic assessment of risks based on changes in your cyber ecosystem. The changes keep happening. This has to be evaluation continuously. It has to be an activity which is ongoing, and you need to bring it along with it, the numerous vulnerabilities which are generated. So these are some of the, some of these risks which are generated may be acceptable to your management. So you need to have that constant interface with your managements too. Now, periodic updation skills of your cybersecurity workforce. This is another challenge. So please organize refresher courses, skill training, freshers, induction. All this is some of the things which you as CISOs can do. My aim was, just to connect with each one of you and tell you as to, how can we, have the cybersecurity landscape of our country improved. And it cannot be done by, the government alone. It requires participation, coordination, cooperation of each one of you here. We all need to realize that cyberspace, which impacts on each one of us here, connecting all pillars of developmental goals of our government, is the key to the future. I'm sure that our efforts together in this domain, with wholehearted participation of each one of us, the citizens, the academia, the industries, the media houses, the whole of governmental approach to address cybersecurity challenges, will make sure that our cyber landscape is protected and it remains so. I'm sure the seminar, which I'm probably the first speaker, I'm sure the sessions that follow will address many of these challenges which I've actually brought out, and maybe you could have an interface, interaction. I'm here till the afternoon session, so if you have any challenges you feel that we at the governmental level, policy making level can address, free to interact with me here. So look forward to interacting with you, and I'm sure this seminar will this particular meeting will pave way for better cybersecurity preparedness of our nation. Thank you, and Jai Hind.